What about you,
I
Easy?
also want to be able to give back to my community, to other communities. I want to have a house big enough that friends and family can, if they're down on their luck or whatever, they can come and stay there for a little while and get back on their feet. I want to give back with money, but I also want to be rich and do selfish things like buy Ferraris and things like that as well. Like I'm not gonna try to paint myself as this super generous
Dude,
person.
I
I
shit
want
you
it.
not. If I got super rich, I would do so many drugs.
Oh, I would do
so
that too.
fucking
I
many
would do
drugs.
But I would pay somebody to stand there and roll me back on my side so I don't choke on my own vomit. And things like that.
Here we go.
Andre, how did you guys grow up? There's a point. There's a point to this. There's a point.
Yeah, I grew up poor. I can say I grew up poor. One parent family. That grew up poor. At one point homeless. But you know, mum is strong. You know, kept us together. She had a nervous breakdown through it. You know, but yeah, she kept us. You know, she kept us together and come out the other end.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Which part?
Your mum had a breakdown.
Oh yeah, that was before you and I met.
All right.
Yeah, that's before you and I met. Yeah. We got put in a home. We were put in a home. Yeah, put in a home for a little while.
All right. For me, you know, well, I had both parents, and both parents worked. So my parents actually got a mortgage and got their own place. So definitely not rich, but
that middle.
No, we were poor. Depends, as always, like everything, it's all relative, isn't it? I wasn't able to go to school and get the latest trainers like some of my friends had, but I had decent trainers. I didn't have to go to school with trainers with holes in them. Didn't have the latest clothes, but I had clothes. So we grew up relatively well. My parents worked hard. I had both parents, so I can't say I grew up. No, obviously I wanted things, but I grew up relatively well considering a lot of the friends that I was with.
I'm in the same boat as you. I grew up very middle class. Like my parents are still together.
No, I wasn't middle class. We were middle class.
Back in the class, but not middle class. No, back in the class, but not middle class.
Yeah, no, but that's right. We like, I guess, just for the thing, we can just be like lower middle, whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay. What about you, Josh?
Everything, but you didn't. I had fuck all, and I grew up poor as fuck. Yeah. Not a lot of food, not a lot of anything. I did go to school with the hand. I remember I used to have to wear my dad's shoes to school, and they did have the holes in them. Like I grew up, I lived in a warehouse for a period of time. Just like anything like horrible that, you know, most people grow up with, sexual abuse, watching drug and alcohol abuse my whole life. Like I grew up through the shit. So the reason why I bring it up is because I think there's an aspect of, and this plays into the whole thing where it gives you access. Growing up poor, you don't have access to anything because you're too focused on survival. Like your main thing is like just getting day by day. Whereas like I think if you grow up in, you know, middle or upper class, you don't have to worry about day to day. You don't have to worry about food. Yeah. So schooling's better because you're clothed, you're warm, you've slept in a bed rather than on the floor. Right. So I think it changes the purpose of the access to things is changed. So I think with the whole like billionaire thing, it's not the billionaire's fault that they're billionaires. Who the fuck doesn't want to be a billionaire? Right. Somebody goes, if I give you a job where you have to work 16 hours a day and become a billionaire, anybody's going to jump at that opportunity. Yeah, just allowing access. It's allowing access, and once again, it's not the rich people to take care of it. It's the government. The government needs to take care of these things and realize that poor people don't have access to these things. And I think I've heard it a lot when I was growing up. Like, you could have done better. You could have gone to university. You know, like, it wasn't in my realm, man. Like, it's not even considered in your family. Like, I was made to go to work fucking early, and half of my pay, or $250, whatever it was, it was either half or $250 a week went to the family. Yeah. So we had a roof, and so we had food. But once again, the drug and alcohol abuse plays into that, where you don't have it, right? Because it goes elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
So
yeah.
once again, your
Yeah.
access is denied. I remember even when I was going to, so we have kindergarten to year 12. I had to work year 12, year 11. Like I was working from 15, but I remember I had to go to work before school. So from 6 a.m. till 9. And then I went from, I'd go to school. And then I had to go back to work at 5 o'clock.
Doing what? Doing what?
I was doing my school-based chef's apprenticeship. Granted, it wasn't every day. It was like 3 or 4 nights a week or days a week. But I'd work most weekends as well.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things that, you know what I mean? You don't question it. You don't argue with it. You want to eat. You fucking go to work. So that's where it really changes, because you're like, going to university isn't on your list because university doesn't fucking pay your bills. It doesn't feed you. It doesn't keep you warm. So there's your access. Your access is immediately gone.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, you go.
No. Go ahead, man. I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. And I think that's like, as we were getting at before, it's once again, it's not the billionaires issue. It's a community issue. And I think you guys were saying before, like, people giving back to the community, it shouldn't take regular folks taking care of regular folks. It should take everybody taking care of everybody. You know what I mean? Yeah. You shouldn't have to give somebody, like, I got fucking $10 left in my pocket. Here's $10 when, there's some asshole over there not paying tax or whatever, like, who knows the loopholes, who's been this generationally wealthy, who's been taught every fucking little nook and cranny to get out of paying money to provide for other people.
Yeah,
like,
I
they're
think,
the ones that should be held accountable.
Yeah, well, I think like here in the States, you have this big, and I think it's a myth, the whole pulling yourself up by your bootstraps mentality. And that's absolutely, like, it's few for a minority of people, right, that have, been able to lose everything and build themselves back up. But for the most part, like, the people that have that are successful usually have had some help along the way, even if they were in high school when that shit happened. But like, when you're poor as fuck, and even if you're saving and you're working 3 jobs, you get a fucking flat tire, that shit can set you back months, of whatever. And because, like, my wife grew up poor as shit down here, like, same thing, like, no food, like, barely scraping by. And it took her like into her 30s before she got to where she was making somewhat of a living for herself. And like, I got really fortunate. Like, I mean, I had help from my folks when I was younger. And then, like, I reached a point, I'm like, I refuse to ask for anything anymore. And I bottomed out for a little bit, but I pulled back out. But I already had that base level that had been helped with up until that point in time. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that. Like, their life hits bottom and then they're like, well, I pulled myself back up. I'm like, yeah, but you kind of had a head start.
That's right. Well, there's another thing, and Easy, you might find this as well. It's like, as you become more successful, as you get older, you get this thing called imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is you don't fucking belong. And then what happens is, when you do create a world for yourself that is outside of what you grew up with, you don't fit in either. You can't go back to work. And you can't fit in with the people that you're with. Sorry, Andrè, go.
Yeah. That funny you should say that, because I'm well familiar with that, and I'm familiar with that because even though I didn't get any great qualifications at school, I did study later on, and I did some electronics, did some computer stuff, got a job in computers, and now I've got a decent position in computers, and I've got people that I'm actually managing. But like you said, I've joined managers' meetings and I've sat there and we've talked, and I've regularly had this thought in the back of my mind of, should you really be here? That's the imposter syndrome. I'm thinking about, are you really qualified to be here? And I have to keep reminding myself that, yes, I am. And again, I do find that, I remember before, my manager, I used to work extra long hours, and he would say to me, why are you doing that? Why are you working these hours? Do you have a problem? I say, no problem. I'm doing fine. I'm just finishing off these things. But deep down, I work extra long for 2 reasons. One is that I worry that I'm not up to the job, and I have to prove to myself and to others so that they can't say, so I can show people I've done. But not only that, I saw this on TV, and it struck me that I was under it myself, where my parents told me growing up that if you want to get anywhere or just to be as good as everybody else, you have to be better. You have to work better. You have to work hard. You have to work more.
Absolutely.
And even though I'd forgotten about that, I realized when my manager was asking me the questions, that's exactly what I was doing. At some level, I still believe that I had to do more, be better, just to stay at that level with other people.
Yeah, 100%. Like I've completely bullshitted my way into the position I have now, and I'm so not worthy to be there. But you know, I've always joked that what I make for in like knowledge, I make up for in tenacity. You know what I mean? Because you know, you work your ass off twice as hard and become valid. But I mean, you also, Andre, have the advantage of your fucking looks. Like you're sexy as shit. So you know,
for fuck's sake.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
Beside you, I'd be straight sold on you too. But you know, god damn it, Andre.
Oh, please.
Well, I never finished college. Like I have like several things I've almost done with, but I never finished university. The military helped me, and I don't know how it is where you guys are, and I'd be interested to hear. But like one option we do have here that not many people take is if you fucking jump into the military for 4 years, you know, then you can get your college paid for. You know, you have a degree, and it's like going to a trade school, and that basically saves my ass.
No,
Andre,
there is. My mentality has always been: there's no place for a black man in any of those things. The military, the army, the police. No place for a black man. No, maybe at some stage there will be, but no,
maybe
I don't think.
Maybe the strip club in your case.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I must admit, I've had that same thought with you, Andre, with regards to the military. I respect anyone who does it.
Of course.
Not for me.
And even the police. I think that for them to be
but you know what? That's because of the fact of what our family have been through and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
so I understand. Yeah, because that exactly the military thing. No, like I said, I know a couple of black guys who have been in the military. I respect them for doing it. Not my thing.
Yeah.
I know one guy. There's a couple of guys. Yeah, there's a couple of. In fact, my cousin was in Northamptonshire Police Force. You know, we didn't fall out. Didn't fall out at all. I respect what he did.
Of course not. I think for black people to go forward,
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, for black people to go forward, there needs to be black people in the police force. Just not.
Of course, yeah.
See, I don't
50,000.
I don't think, and this is people, especially the South, people don't like it, but I don't think that people on the police force or military deserve any more or less respect than anybody fucking else. At this day and age, you're not being forced to go the fuck in. Like you're going in for a job and you're getting paid to do what the fuck you signed up for. Like if you're drafted and you're made to go in, different fucking story. But if you're doing it by choice, it's no different than me spending 4 years in the university and then going to get another job. Like I'm going in with a purpose in mind, whether it's to be a fucking bullet sponge and kill some fucking enemies, or whether it's work in intelligence, but it's still just a fucking job. Like I don't understand this. Well, I really respect you for being a public servant. It's like, no, that's the fucking career you chose.
Do you think there's
it's true. Yeah.
In America where there's a bit of bribery? Because don't you get a car as well? Don't they give you a...
No, you do get free college.
You get free college. That's about it. Yeah.
And like military, like I got medically discharged, right? So I was planning on staying in. They kicked me out. It was honorable, but still, but I get benefits now. Like my benefits pay my fucking mortgage for like while
but they also your pay when you're in the military because you have the housing is covered if you live on base and you have free college, whatever. Your pay is shit. I mean, for what you
at a base level, but you still get a good bit, at least at the lower ranks.
So I disagree with Steven slightly on as far as the respect thing goes. To me, it depends on when you join. Like, so we had 9/11 happen in 2001, and a lot of people.
It's an inside job, goddammit.
I get it, but we had a lot of young people. A lot of young people saw this happen and decided they wanted to join the military for better or worse, or for false premises or not, or for propaganda or not. That's it. They wanted to defend the country. Whether they was truly defending the country or not is beside the point. All right. But I mean, I had a brother and things like so. I think if you join in a time of war, yeah, you probably deserve a little bit more respect because you know where you're going. But if you're just somebody that just decides my career path, I'm going to benefit from the college and things like that, go in the military. No, you're just making a career choice the same way the rest of us do.
Interesting.
Well, the fact of the matter is, though, is there's not been when it gets these fucking poor, and I say poor, but 18, 19-year-old kids get manipulated as shit. Because the fact of the matter is, if you look at it unbiasedly, there hasn't been a fight for freedom in fucking hundreds of years. It's all been economic.
But that's why I said, for better, for worse, whatever lie they're being fed or not, that's what they think they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's to be commended if you think you're joining to go into war and fight for it and you decide to do that of your own free will. I think that you deserve a little bit of respect for that. But I don't think the government deserves respect.
That's like saying, oh, hey, you're 21 and decided not to get shit-faced your whole life. You should deserve some respect for that. No, fuck that.
It's not the same thing at all. There's no chance of you dying from not getting shit-faced, like joining the military.
You know how many times I've almost died when I was drunk?
I said choosing not to get shit-faced. Yeah, I'm just saying, if you're making a choice to do it in a quote time where you're going to be sent off onto the front lines to fight terrorism because everybody has terrorists except the U.S. I assume it's kind of what we're fed over.
That's right.
But if you're making that choice freely, you deserve a little bit of respect for it. But
everybody's a communist or a terrorist.
That's right. Everybody's socialist, communists, or terrorists. And socialists are just
Team America.
Do what?
Yeah, Team America,
that's
World
right.
Police. Yeah,
that's actually a documentary.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Fuck yeah.
So I wonder this. You're talking about imposter syndrome, but I also wonder this for those of us because, I mean, I grew up middle class, lower middle class. I was a little worse off than Stephen was, but not nearly as bad off as the stories I'm hearing Josh and Easy tell. But do you notice that in your adult life, growing up poor, not the imposter syndrome part of it, but like for me, it's very hard to spend money on myself. But
it's very hard to do what?
Hard to spend money on myself.
Oh.
Like, I'll buy myself something. Like,
well, Easy. You can't say you have that problem, Easy.
No, I can't agree with that part. I'm sorry. I can't agree with that part. I work like a fucker and I spend money on myself, and I've got no problem doing that. I'm not gonna lie. I've got no problem spending. Yeah, if I work hard for the money. Trust me, I work all the hours that God can put in front of me if there's such a person. But yeah. I spend well. I do. Yep. Yeah. Do I own a Cartier watch? Yes. Do I go on lavish holidays? Absolutely. When I could. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things too. It's like you there's no fear of being at the bottom. You've already seen it. You grew up in it, you lived in it. So fucking spending some money isn't going to kill you.
I have a healthy look. Yeah. Sorry, Josh. Just quickly. I have a healthy respect for money. But go on. Sorry, Josh. Go on.
That's right. And two, it usually gets taken away from you when you grow up poor. I think that was my biggest thing. It's like you'd see it come and then you'd immediately see it go unless you can go, I'm going to buy this instead. You know what I mean? Like if you can buy that little thing for yourself, that's some money that you're not handing over to somebody else.
Well, and that's where it's a difference in the way I grew up poor and the way you grew up poor. Like when I turned 16 years old, I had to have a job. I had to pay half of my car insurance, but I didn't. That money I made was for me. Like I got to do whatever. So that's the difference between the two of us. But I've always had these things like this could go away. Like my wife and I are making more money than we've ever made in our life. We can afford to go and do almost whatever we want. I mean, obviously I can't go out and buy a Ferrari or something like that, but we can afford to do whatever we feel like doing. We could eat out we could go out to a restaurant and never buy groceries and eat out every meal if we wanted to. But there's still all this feeling and this thing in the back of your mind is like this could all go away at some point.
I have to admit, I can identify with that, and I do have a thing where I constantly try to have some money saved. Always, worried that things could take a turn for the worse again, which is probably one of the reasons again why I still try to work probably longer hours than I need to, and all those sort of things. So
Yeah.
I do have, I think in the back of my mind is worry that something could happen, and
you don't want to end up where you were growing up.
Yeah.
You simply don't.
Yeah, more with Josh, and my wife and I are the same way, because she grew up poor, not quite the same mentality as me, but it's kind of like, okay, like I have this $20. That's not going to pay off shit. So I might as well get a little bit of happiness out of this $20 and then work a little, to try to make up for whatever. But also we both have like a lot of self-loathing. So there's a lot of like, I don't deserve this. I'll give money to other people, but I'm not buying this for my shit myself because, I don't deserve whatever. But,
self-loathing. No, I don't have. I don't have any of that.
No.
Every morning.
That's too deep. That's too deep for me.
Yeah. That's
too
deep for me.
I know. I find that shit interesting. Going back though, just for a second to what we were talking about as far as people taking care of people, like at least in the States with Protestantism and stuff, like we wouldn't have any of these issues if the fucking church would do their goddamn job and spend some of the billions of dollars they bring in and do what they're actually supposed to do and take care of the poor, regardless of religious belief. Like that's their purpose, is to take care of people, not just themselves. And so they're
doing exactly that, taking care of themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fuck everyone else. That's the church. That's the religion.
Yeah, like they could absolutely like almost take care of an entire welfare system or homeless shelters for the poor and completely pay for it without having any tax dollars go to it. So part of the issue in the States with a lack of healthcare, a lack of education, a lack of like taking care of things socially is because the church is a fucking selfish bunch of cunts. Like fuck those guys.
Hey,
there's the first one.
I was listening to one of your previous podcasts, Steve, and I don't know if you were joking, but you said that you were, I don't know what it is, a preacher or a pastor or something like that. Was that a joke?
Dude, I went to Bible school. I'm officiating a wedding for a buddy of mine next weekend. I shit you not.
What does it mean by officiating? What do you mean? You don't mean you're marrying them?
I'm standing up and marrying.
No, you make it. Yeah.
Really?
But no, dude, I was a full-time pastor for a couple of fucking years. Like I shit you not. Like I was like deep into that shit. But there's a few things that came across. I realized this is a bunch of fucking bullshit. Like A, it's run like a business. And then B, they don't really fucking care about people. And then C, like I went through a divorce and they're like, okay, you can't be a part of the church anymore. I don't care how much you invested your life. So you're no longer worthy of being here. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you guys, man. This is some bullshit. So
hold on. So what you saying? You were a past preacher or whatever, and then you got kicked out.
Yes.
Yeah. And now it's a problem.
Why is that not surprising? Why is that not surprising?
No, but he didn't get kicked out for the reasons you would expect. He got kicked out for
he defrocked himself. For whatever it was.
I got kicked out for marrying a crazy bitch because the church was like I was trying to like break up with her and they were like, no, you really need to just press through this. It's just a trial or what the fuck ever. And granted, I take responsibility for my own actions. It was ultimately my decision. But as a young dude that grew up in like a religious background, you learned like listen to your elders, right? And you trust what older people are telling you. And that's what the fuck I did. And it just straight dicked me over in the long run. Again, my fault at the end of the day, but fucking goddamn it.
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds like it still hurts.
No, it really doesn't. And I'm not bitter about it at all. I just
you don't sound bitter.
Well, no. No. That was my point. Like, I'm not bitter about it. I just have a deep-seated, like I see it for what it is because I was in it for so long. And then I have no tolerance for it because the hypocrisy is so fucking deep. It's insane to me. And like I borderline would be willing to fucking like start on a fucking crusade against the fucking church because fuck those bunch of assholes.
You got
guns. If we were to do a questionnaire to the listeners, who do you think was a preacher out of everyone here? I'm sure Steve will be the last person. I'm sure you'd be the last person, bro.
Exactly. Yeah.
Should have run a poll.
On a side note, Easy pointed out that I said cunt, and I wanted to mention this to Josh. It's a way more common phrase in Australia than it is most places that people that I've talked to.
It's every day.
Yeah. And it's a term of endearment and an insult.
Yep.
Correct.
It's an everything word. You can use it for everything.
how we use the word fuck over here.
Yeah, it's just like fuck. Same
I mean,
thing.
Nah,
It
easy
depends on-
nodded,
yeah, it
but
depends on
you
the
can't
tone.
use that over here too often, bro. You can't. Either you keep
We
nodding.
do
Maybe in Scotland. Maybe in Scotland.
up here. Like
never
Josh
ever
said,
heard
it's a
you- Let me hear you use it on our program. Yeah, let me hear you use it on our program next time.
what? Look, up here. Okay, like Josh said, it is a term of endearment and an insult.
Use it
And
on
they
our program.
up here.
Use it on the station.
No, I won't do that. I would never
I
do
know
that.
you won't.
Okay,
I know
would
you
never do
won't.
that.
I know you won't. Yeah, well, tell him. Next time we get a
But up
listener
here-
call in, you tell him you can't. I love you. Go on, you tell him.
I was gonna say,
Term
Josh,
of
you're a
endearment.
fucking awesome cunt, man. I'm
Ain't gonna work, mate. Ain't gonna work.
You gotta learn how to use it. It's a very powerful.
Yeah, you got yeah, exactly. You got to drop it properly.
Okay.
You got to drop it properly. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember when I was over in the States, we were drunk most of the time. It was just like a bunch of dudes. And we'd say it so much, and people's faces would look so disgusted.
yeah, it's a big
Dang.
one, man.
Like, get out of our face, man! Like,
No, dude, you call a Latin woman a cunt, she will stab you in the goddamn.
the also good part about being over there, we were Australian, so we got away with fucking murder over there. We could have done anything
absolutely.
we wanted, and
Yeah,
we
we
were
did
like,
too.
"Sorry, mate." And they're like, "What? You're Australian?" Like, yeah.
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 God.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think
Rest
the
of the planet.
association though with Australia is like they have the hottest. Like I've noticed though, Australian girls are either absolutely gorgeous or just fucking trolls. You guys don't find not in between. A dude over in Britain has like mostly like meh or disgusting. But there's a small percentage that's like holy. You guys.
What was
been
it?
to your
Jim
country,
Jeffries had the
your
joke
country
was like,
better, brother.
well, Jim Jeffries had the
unbelievable.
joke was like Australian women, like they can be hot, but it's that accent, that voice that just turns you off.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what he said, but I don't know. Anyway, it's something about
I've worked hard to derail this entire.
See,
thing.
Josh has got his missus in the same room, so he's gone quiet.
I can hear my wife moving around upstairs, and she's probably not gonna be.
Yeah,
happy.
loading the guns. She's loading the guns.
Yeah, but sorry. What do you mean to do?
Not be a bitch.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh my goodness.
So, oh my goodness, yeah. The Australian accent over here is a big deal to women. Think it's just super hot, like over here. It's like
Goddamn, Chris Hemsworth has ruined it for everyone.
Hemsworth.
I don't care. I like Hemsworth because it reminds me of Hymens.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I
Okay.
got you.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
My daughter changed her Siri to an Australian accent.
And Hugh Jackman, goddamn that piece of man meat. Good for you.
Yeah, but to top them all off, you have Mel Gibson. So
Oh yeah.
Mel.
Mm.
Mel's not out.
yeah.
You guys took him out.
In
You
all
guys are
fairness, they have Tom Hiddleston. I mean, they have Benedict Cumberbatch, who looks like a lizard, but he's still sexy as fuck because he's a good actor.
I didn't know Benedict Cumberbatch was Australian.
No, I said UK.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that part. My
No,
bad.
I said they have their own magic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Tom Holland.
And we have Idris Elba, Steve. Remember Idris Elba? You like Idris Elba?
Christ. He is such a hot piece of fucking man ass. Jesus.
Caesar, man.
He did this the last time. He did this the last time.
I don't think you getting divorced has anything about you getting kicked out of the church, man.
Yeah.
Just
There's so many
because
options.
I recognize when a man is fucking gorgeous does not mean I'm just throwing that out.
Mm-mm.
I can tell you, I've been watching this train wreck for 22, 23 years. So welcome to the audience. So to go back to something Steven said, like, I think a lot of issues that we have in the U.S. could be solved if the church did what it should be doing. I mean, you take, for instance, when Texas had the big issue, was it with the winter storm they had, and people were out of power and things like that. And you have Joel Osteen that has this massive basketball arena for his church and wouldn't allow people to come in to have somewhere.
That's
to
right.
stay while they got
Yeah,
worked
right.
fucking
At what
crazy.
23,000 seat living room.
Yeah.
And he said, none of you are getting in.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a man. That's a man of the cloth.
Yes. And that's
Yeah, fuck him.
there's a lot of that goes on over here. It's a
Why is
whole
it
lot
only
of
over there? You know what I mean?
well, because politics bleeds over into everything over here.
Well,
and
because
people-
capitalism feeds the church too, because the churches don't have to pay fucking taxes.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like once again, it's like who creates these systems? Like it has to be from something, and then what has to stop it? Like I think all of America's problems comes back to one fundamental issue that needs to be solved. I don't think it's a list of issues. I think it's just one very simple thing, you know.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, as I say, we're all ears, Josh.
Spit it
I
out.
don't know, man. I'm Australian. I don't know anything. I live.
No. This is the beauty of these conversations.
Josh, say what you're gonna say. You're far away. They can't get you. You're far away. Say it.
I'm too worried about fucking spiders and shit down here, man. And like the fucking snakes.
Dude, you guys have fucking animals that will fuck your shit up.
Yeah.
Jesus
I
Christ.
don't need it. I need 3 Americans coming down here to
No, come on.
I'd venture to say we probably agree with you. I'd say we probably agree with you, or at
America's
least half
problem is you guys are obsessed with greed. Like it's not even money at this point. Like money is just this thing that changes hands. You're obsessed with greed, and you believe it gives you power.
See, I was going to say,
like,
I would argue and say it's an obsession with power, not greed, because the greed feeds that power because
Man,
the people with the most money control.
What is $200 billion compared to $100 billion in terms of power?
you get everything.
You know what I mean? What is it? What is the difference? Jeff Bezos doesn't fucking tell people what to do. Like he tells his company what to do, but he doesn't go around. He's the richest man on the planet, so he should be the most powerful man on the planet, and that's right.
But I mean, he's got tentacles and leverage into so many places. Whether he's openly pushing power, I mean, he's got investments that he's pushing.
Sure.
I think greed transcends like money. It goes well beyond it. It goes into, once again, it does go into power. It does go into possessions. It goes into this fucking weird attitude of trying to be better. But the problem is like Americans believe that this one, like the person above them is the problem. Like the immediate above them, the middle class is trying not to be the lower class, and your lower class is so terrifying that the middle class will do fucking anything not to be it. And that's just up the upper class. You know what I mean? And then the upper class is feeding shit down, going, well, you don't want to be them, instead of making them go, well, we're trying to be you, and you know what I mean? And there's like a fucking weird thing of greed. It's this weird possessions. Like I need to have weird fucking things to make it, to have a little bit of social currency that I can.
No, well, that's what actually we talked about the juxtaposition guys about when they were here, is that nobody, I don't think, really wants equality. They want to fucking ante up and trump the class that's above them, because the class above them has been fucking them over for so long. So fucking, I want to be above this class because they owe me X, Y, and Z, and it's this perpetual fucking thing that creates so much division, as opposed to, like you said, like that greed that we're obsessed with. Is nobody really wants everybody just to be able to fucking play well together. Everybody wants to be better than the person either above them or feel better than the people below them. It's that lust for, I guess that is a greed, I guess, more so than power. It's that greed for influence and that greed for control. But,
well, and he said something. Josh said something about how everyone thinking the person above them or the group above them is the problem. And that's a somewhat new thing in the country, because if you could go back to the 1950s, if someone that was poor or whatever, and you saw a guy driving a Cadillac down the street, the thought was, wow, if I work hard and maybe get an education, whatever, I can drive a Cadillac one day. And now you see a guy drive the whatever car, an Audi, a Mercedes, or whatever down the street, and you think, fuck that guy, what does he do to deserve
see,
that?
I would disagree. Predominantly white mindset out of the 50s, because as a black man, you would be like, well, I'll never obtain that anyway. The best I can do is X, Y, and Z. And so I still think there's a huge separation. It was just in a different place.
But I mean, I'm just saying, like, as far as a majority of people in the country at the two different times,
Yeah,
like,
I got
that's the way the mindset was. I mean, back then the vast majority was white people, and now the vast majority is minorities. Not one minority, but all the vast majority is a stretch. A lot of different minorities kind of equal the one white majority in the country for the most part, not completely, but for the most part. But it's bled over into all cultures and almost all cultures and all things. And Asians in the U.S. don't typically still, they still have that whole work hard, do well, make your family proud kind of thing. And I think Jewish people as well, for the most part, do that as well. But
which I find interesting, that the whole division of power and control amongst the more elite races, I guess, not really races, but people groups, like the Jewish and their Jews and the Asians, man, they control so much in different industries. And I find that very interesting.
Yeah,
why is that
put in the banks?
Why do you think that's interesting?
Specifically because one of the few things that I'm aware of that predates racism towards Black people has been anti-Semitism, right? Like it's very deep, almost across the board culturally. People fucking hate Jews, but they've been so entrenched and so powerful in so many different ways in the modern, and I say modern world because I'm not a history major, but you can see over the last couple hundred years, especially in like the banking industries, entertainment industries, so achieving that level of success in spite of heavy persecution and racial issues against them, versus Black people that have had like an equal amount but have been really repressed or oppressed. I find that dichotomy very strange.
I think there are some fundamental differences between Blacks and Jews.
I agree.
And for me, so what do you think is the most fundamental difference then?
Skin color is one. We've talked about that briefly, like the perception between Black is bad and white is good, not necessarily as far as skin color, but as far as like religious, even like white is and whatever.
But
and Black
let me just say that Jewish people are a collective.
Yes,
you know, they may have their own, I don't know, their language, their Bible,
it's religious and racial. Like it's not just
right. But let's just be clear that when we say Black people, we're really talking about a whole different set of people that are now classed as one.
Yes.
So just like you may have fractions of white people fighting against each other. When you try to put all Black people together and say, look, you as Black people, you guys haven't come together. That's probably like saying all blue-eyed white people haven't come together. I mean, well, I say that because my background, my history, the things that I've experienced, my experiences may be totally different from the Black man who lives next door to me. Yeah. But yet society expects us to not only get on, but to find some common ground and build together and grow together. Where apart from our color, there may be no common ground. He may have a total different background to me. He may have total different experiences to me. We don't have a language that we can get together and talk. We don't have a religion that we can get together. We don't even necessarily have a history. His parents might be from Africa. Mine might be from the West Indies. But yet people expect us to get together and build and grow. And then when we don't, they say, well, yeah, what's wrong with Black people? They don't. Why is it that everybody else can get together, but Black people can't?
But dude, I've never thought about it in that perspective. That is fucking interesting as shit.
That's what I was fixing to say. Is like, that is, dare I say, poignant.
No, we can say pointless.
It's really interesting because in at least what I can say, like in the southern states specifically, that is the general mindset that Black people are from Africa. Africa's one. It's no different than a group of Asians, than a group of whatever, even though there's a huge dynamic, even with whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Asian, whatever, but they get lumped together in one people group. That is because like Jewish people, they all share a single fucking heritage, a single fucking religion. I'm talking about as a broad strokes.
Yeah, but see, I only know back to the West Indies. I don't know any of my family from Africa. Though, of course, before slavery, that's where they would have come from. But I don't know any of them.
Mhm.
And my neighbor who might be from Africa, or even my neighbor who might be from St. Vincent or Montserrat, some other small West Indian island.
Right.
We don't necessarily have anything in common, except that he will know that at some stage his ancestors were slaves, and I know at some stage my ancestors were slaves. Apart from that, what do we have in common? We don't really have a language. We don't have a. Well, I guess the history is slavery. I guess that's the history.
Yeah, no, legitimately, man. Thank you for that perspective. I have never ever put it like in that group. Sorry, go ahead, Josh, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just saying. I was just agreeing with you, man. That's a really good way of making people look at it, like complete and utter sense.
Yeah. Well, like I completely recognize like the fact that I'm a white dude, so and especially in America, so my vision is particularly narrow, right? And so I really appreciate when people are willing to talk about these things and address things that I might be completely stupid and ignorant on, because some people, like especially at least in the States, that are tend to be in one direction, very extreme. Like they'll be like, well, your ignorance speaks for itself. I'm not going to answer your questions because you're fucking offending me by asking. So I'm legitimately, I appreciate you being willing to answer these fucking questions, because like I said, you just blew my goddamn mind, and I really fucking appreciate that.
I like the ideas that we can actually get together and talk this shit, to be honest. I like
I want you guys to keep going. I am about to piss my pants, so I'm going to step out. You guys please carry on. It's
that keeps on giving.
It's gonna be a mess.
Sure, go for
it. Wonderful.
he I think that was code for I'm going to go smoke. He said no.
I know at some stage you guys want to talk about your mate David. Was it David Weiss?
We had a brief discussion on it before.
Yeah, we talked about him while we're waiting on you guys to join us back up.
Did I miss that? Oh, okay.
He was a very enjoyable guy to talk to, but we don't necessarily agree with most of what he said.
Well, I watched both interviews from both of you, and after a bit, I thought it was interesting, and even though I thought
it's crazy,
what you're saying is. I thought what you're saying is probably nonsense, because But I thought that he was able to answer your questions, especially you, Josh. Because I thought Josh tried to take him to task. I thought the B3F guys, I think you guys were a little bit more relaxed with him, but I'm sure Josh tried to take him to task. But I thought he was able to answer your questions. The problem was for me is that his answers were above my pay grade. I didn't know enough to know whether or not what he was saying was right or not, but he answered them as if he knew what he was saying, and some of the things that he mentioned, they sounded pretty good to me.
Yeah.
So I had the same response, and like when you finish speaking to him, you kind of go like, some of it makes sense. The problem with it is, it's like when you create things like this, when you create this far-fetched ideal, if you go, there's 80% bullshit and 20% truth, but that truth is strong. Like when you go like, you can't trust all your doctors, which he said, fair. That is an incredibly fair statement. And then he's like, and then they'll give you a vaccine that's going to track your body. You're like, it's kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? And it was always like that with him, with the back and forth. I didn't go in there to argue with him, but it was really good to talk to him and to get that in particular, where you can really break down somebody's thing when you can't keep them on track. This one thing, you'll ask him a question and he'll spear off over here, and you ask him another question and he'll spear off somewhere else. But it was always, here's a fact that everybody can grab and agree on, and then he's a little bit of shit. And then what happens eventually, because I've spoken to another flat earther since then, and it's always the same story. I didn't believe in it until I started researching it. Right? Rabbit holes, conspiracy rabbit holes are so much fun to go down. And if you sit in them for long enough, you go, that's kind of believable. You know what I mean? I always apply it to, you go to a restaurant 100 times, you have a bad meal there once, and that restaurant's shit forever. You go down these rabbit holes, you find one little fact or one little thing that connects or resonates with you, and it all becomes real. It all becomes what you thought it was.
But my point is, you interviewed him and you weren't able to expose him. You weren't able to say,
You never will.
Yeah.
There'll
Well,
be no
the fact that
situation
you know what, if he was talking about religion and I was in my 20s, I may well have followed him.
Yeah.
Or put it another way. If I was in my 20s and I was able to meet someone who was able to answer me on questions of the religion the way he was able to answer you on questions about not just flat Earth but all the things, then I may well have been Catholic
a disciple. A disciple.
I don't know about going that far. But my point is that I thought that his arguments were pretty good, considering it's not what I expected. I expected to listen to this guy and rabbit on about some foolishness, and you think, "Oh, what an idiot!" And I didn't go away thinking that.
Not at all. The man is like but that's the misconception about people who come up with these ideas as well. It's like on the opposite end, everyone goes, "Well, he's an idiot." He's not an idiot by any means.
No, like, the opposite. Very bright man.
He's very, very smart, very well spoken, and he does have an answer for. Once again, there was stuff that he spoke about, and I have fucking no idea. I can't answer that back. But I knew if I did have an answer, he'd come up with something even like he'd just keep piling it on. But I agree with you, man. If he was speaking about anything, he could sell it. He's a salesman, man.
Yeah,
he's one of the world's best salesmen.
Well, and I don't know exactly how how your podcast works. I know for us, like we like to veer people off topic a lot. We like to get into the real stuff that they're not trying to sell. And so we kind of approach that discussion with him as far as let him say whatever he's going to do, let him give his green screen presentations and ask questions as they arise, but let's just see if we can get him off topic and talk about other things. And it took us a little while, but I think like towards the end of the interview, I asked him about his website because I had been to his website and there's a lot of crazy shit on his website.
He was reluctant to say that it was his website.
He was. I think I finally got him to say it was, but it took him a couple of times of me saying, you don't have to say, but I mean, it seems like it's your website or whatever. But he had some crazy stuff like Stephen just said, forests aren't real. The George Floyd murder was a government hoax, and
I saw that,
things like that.
One of the things I have found across the board though with flat earthers, and it's like people that are really, really, really embedded religiously, especially when they're older, is they're looking for something bigger or something like a universal knowledge that they're in on, like some type of meaning. And when they find that, they just latch the fuck on. And then logic doesn't matter at that point because it's something that makes them feel they're a part of something that's much, much bigger than they are, which I think is a part of human nature anyway. But when you really, really have a huge hole in your life and you find something that fills it, there's no logic that's going to talk you out of it, right? It's a full life investment into these beliefs. And I think some guys like David Weiss might not necessarily buy into everything, but they're at a point where they have recognition and they have affirmation. They have these things that they desire. And so it doesn't serve them to change anything or to think outside of that. Like it's a self-reciprocating thing.
Have you guys watched that Flat Earth documentary on Netflix?
Oh my God.
I heard you guys talk about it, but I haven't watched it yet.
On with you about how it was all misrepresented and
I heard him say that.
But look at the leader of it lives in his mum's fucking basement. Whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like he moves out of his mum's house and creates a flat earth thing, and like he gets acknowledged from pretty girls now. You know what I mean? And might pay his bills, and you know what I mean? Like, there's no fucking way you're gonna back down from it. Not when you're getting attention. Like, not when you're, even if it's bad attention, you're still getting attention. You wake up to your phone blowing up, even though it might be negative. It's always a good feeling with your phone blow
that's
up.
what I was gonna say. As humans, we want some type of affirmation and attention that makes us feel valuable. I mean, that's like the base human experience is we want to feel connected to something else that's not just us. That loneliness is a big drive to either be better or to join some type of community. And, it's especially in the modern age of, us being so fractured and independent outside of a community. Like when you find a community that kind of feeds into something we're desiring, it becomes this very entrenched part of who you are.
Yeah, I agree.
What did you find the most fascinating or intriguing thing about flat Earth theory?
Yeah, okay. What's this about Antarctica? We can only travel to a certain part and we're not allowed to
Thank
go any
you.
further?
That's the one thing that he talked. That's the one thing for me that I'm
But
like,
nobody argued it. None of you guys argued it. I didn't know that was true,
because
but none of you argued it.
I don't know the facts behind
Ah,
that. I'm just thinking, oh, that's interesting. We're not allowed, but I have looked it up since then, and
Right.
there is an Antarctica treaty that where you're only allowed to go to certain parts, and it has to be sanctioned.
that is
whatever.
interesting, though. Why is that?
Interesting. Yes.
It's an
Plus, I don't
ecosystem.
want to argue. I like people wondering if I actually believe the shit he's selling. Like that's so much fun to me.
It's so they got treaties down there because it's an ecosystem, and if you that's one of those ecosystems. Like if you fuck it up, like you can't bring it back. Like there's like a forest, you can replant trees, you can't rebuild ice. So they'll like
sheep.
they'll like everybody fucking agrees. But you can go there. Like you can go to certain parts of it. I know people that have been there. My old boss went there.
I applied for a job down there actually.
Really?
But if you can only go to certain parts of it, what are they hiding in the other parts?
Well, that's what he was saying.
But why does everything have to be hidden? Why is everybody against
Well,
everybody?
well, look, I didn't know. I thought that we had conquered this earth. I thought that we had stepped all over it. I didn't know there were parts of this earth that we can't go.
You didn't realize that there was some stuff going on outside of the Antarctic ice wall.
That is the dumbest fucking thing ever. And I was like, what happens after? He's like, oh, we don't know. And I was like, what? Get a drone, fly it over the wall then. Like there's a billion things.
Did he talk to you about aliens?
Yeah, but aliens are real, man.
No, but I mean, he was saying that like aliens aren't from space; they're from the lands that are outside of.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Terrestrials. He was calling them extraterrestrials, meaning
land
outside of the ice wall.
Have any of you guys read any bit into the hollow Earth theory? That shit's fucking extra crazy. I love it.
There's the hollow moon theory as well. That the moon's a spaceship.
What's the Nazis? It's all the Nazis.
They shot a rocket at it or something, and it echoed.
Too much. Too much.
Think about it. Like, well, if you're gonna believe that the government is constantly spying on you and stuff, why can't the moon be a big satellite?
Right.
It could be, yeah, for sure. So when we had David Weiss on, within the first 10 minutes, he had a colleague dial in to us to talk as well.
I want him on.
Oh yeah.
And I can't remember his name, but he approaches flat Earth from a biblical perspective. Like he can give you verses in the Bible that supposedly say the Earth is flat and things like that. But he was a bit of an asshole. Like he was a bit of a jerk.
You asked him to name something that was, I don't know, something within the Bible that just basically showed that the earth was flat. And he read out something, and then he left abruptly. And when he left, I thought, but hold on, that didn't really tell me anything.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to have because of my background and shit. Like, I really wanted to have him on individually and talk to him. Like, okay, let's dig into the Bible. Let's talk about scriptural proof of the flat Earth. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, that's the thing about Stephen. Like, legitimately, I love him and hate him, but he's forgotten more shit about the Bible and things like that than most people have ever. As far as most people that I run into on a daily basis, I love putting him on a religious tangent and listen to him just tear shit apart. I mean, we do a thing each week, and we're going to dial it back a little bit because he tangents on it every time. But where we play these fundamentalist Baptist people and this crazy shit that they say about how up Easy's alleys, like Scott's wearing kilts is not biblical. Like they shouldn't be doing that
feminine
because it's feminine. Only women should be wearing skirts and things like that. It's just. I love to play those little videos and get Steven going on stuff, but it takes up a lot of the second half of our show every week. But that's a great thing about having religious conversation with Steven is like he's studied most of this shit like in depth in Bible school, and so he can have a debate. He could debate pro and he can debate against it, and that's a great thing.
Okay.
It is. It really is. Like I love because you can take either approach to it, and it's amazing to me.
We're gonna kiss.
Probably.
I'm gonna go to the toilet.
I'm gonna puke.
So I'm curious. We had this conversation with Andrè and Easy when they were on, and I know that there's parts of it that are super ingrained in British culture, but as far as in Australia. My understanding is a religion doesn't dig in nearly as deep as it does in other places because I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, because you guys weren't founded as some type of weird, proselytization or like mission. I mean, you guys are a bunch of fucking criminals. So I was just kind of curious what the. I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding.
There's a man who's not allowed to have a gun in a country full of guns. Like,
no. I'm joking, but I'm curious on how much religion ties into a lot of Aussie culture.
Well, once again, it's borderline to the point where it's a business, but it just doesn't fly down here as much. It's not one of those like staunch beliefs. Like you get your big churches and whatever. Australians really don't give a fuck. Like a lot of the time, I think because we're so fast, like separated from everybody else, unless it's immediate, we don't really care. You know what I mean? So, and once again, we weren't founded on it, so it's not ingrained in our beliefs. But I think that doesn't that sort of speak in volumes that like something that's founded and like ingrained in you has to be inherently correct.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
no, yeah, for sure.
Doesn't it sort of jive? But once again, it provides this system, this skeletal thing that you can sort of base your communities off. Whereas Australia was just sort of founded off like not dying by the things that are here.
Yeah. No, and it's such an odd thing because there's a lot of, especially conservatives here, that really preach that, well, America was founded as a Christian nation. And like, that's not fucking true historically. But I mean, it was a very Protestant based background, which is essentially Catholicism light. Like the structure's the same, the viewpoint's the same. They just didn't like the Church of England telling them what the fuck to do. I mean, what's that?
Isn't that crazy that they can just fucking take this book that was meant to be written by the Son of God and just be like, oh, I don't like this part. Yeah. Let's create something different.
It's fucking crazy.
And nobody sees that. Like, isn't that fucking insane where people keep taking little parts of what they think it is?
Right.
And then going, I'm going to do my own thing now. But it doesn't say in the Bible not to do that. Like,
that's the thing about the fundamentalist Christian clips that I play on here that get Steven going is like, these guys are hardcore King James version only. And I'm like, but you don't understand that, like, that was translated, like King James had that translated in a way that suited him. Like, how is that the whole like living word of God or whatever? Like, it's crazy to me.
Well, once again, it's like the book originally could have been written off something, great and terrific, and everybody's happy. But once again, you pass anything down any type of line. Like the whole Chinese whispers thing is like the most. Can you say Chinese whispers anymore?
I would say that's racist.
It's the same fucking principle, man. You like anybody who tells a story embellishes. We all do it. We all fluff it up to make it seem a little bit better. So, like, believing this book that was written 2,000 years ago, it seems a bit
right.
Well, a little bit redundant, and it makes you rigid as a human. This is why they become these staunch believers of.
Right. Well, nobody takes into account cultural influence or the people that were in power at the time when it was fucking done or translated or what the fuck ever. But on top of all of that, I don't know. There's this assumption that people have this connection. It's that desire to have something bigger than yourself. It still comes back to that. And I don't know. It's people identify with aspects of it, so they cling on to those aspects and then find a way to justify the rest of it. And I don't have an issue with religion in the sense of like, if it makes you happy and helps you be kinder to others and, have some understanding of the world around you at that level, great. But when it starts becoming this oppressive bullshit that you start trying to force on other people, then fuck you, you're an asshole.
But that's anything, right? Like you find the same fucking thing with like, my music's better than your music, your shit. I've heard that before. Like, you listen to that, you're like, what does it matter, man? Like, it's we find anything, any little thing that we can use for social currency. That's all it is. One uppiness.
I mean, the only thing I think we can all agree on is Easy being a K-pop fan is completely fucking unacceptable.
Well, what's wrong with K-pop?
Please. But I do agree with what Steve's saying though, that the basics. I think if the basics of religion, people who follow the basics of religion, even if they are different religions, the basics of religions are probably sound. And if everybody followed the basics of religion, maybe this world would, well, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it should probably be a better world.
Yeah.
But
well,
but as you said, it's when people start manipulating it to suit their own agendas. So
well,
agendas.
Love God, love your neighbor. I mean, that. Why do you need anything more than that?
Yeah, but human nature is to conquer and to own and to be better than. I mean, that's human fucking, like anything.
I'm
that's
just
happened,
trying to conquer love.
Jesus Christ. So I mean, anything that's happened, like history repeats itself, and like all people want is to be in control of their surroundings and what the fuck they have. I mean, that's repeated itself over and over because we're inherently selfish and we like to think that we're more evolved now and we have a better concept of equality and all this shit. And that's true to a degree, but in the end of the day, like whoever's in power wants to fucking be in power and not lose that power. I mean, that's just fucking humanity.
Well, I would argue, like what you just said, like
what Josh was about to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I can wait. And nothing.
No, I was just going to say that the whole, it's selfish. Even the being nice and helping people, it's selfish. I mean, because it just makes you feel better about yourself. Yeah. That's it. I mean,
yeah. Do you think humans need this struggle? They need this constant battle between good and evil. Like you can take the devil or God and use that as a premise, but good and evil, this fundamental thing. Like I remember having a discussion with somebody about like World War II happening and when it happened, and did it need it to happen for humanity to get to this point now? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, was that a necessity? Like, if you can zoom out on just one particular time and go, all right, let's zoom out. And was it for the benefit of humanity? Like, would we have made it to space? And why are we going to space? And do we need to go through these? Like, I think it relates back to people have it easy, especially like I think we might notice now. It's like in times of where things are particularly easy, we find things to cause drama, to shake things up, cause pain and hurt, and we'll really explode those things up to make it worse to get something good out of the other end. You know what I mean? So, and this is obviously like a times a billion type thing. Do you guys think that humans need to go to a struggle to get through to something better, to see enlightenment or to improve or achieve something different?
Ooh, I'd be like Andrè and Easy, man. This is one that's just fucking softball to you guys. Come on.
I think that's, yes, I think as individuals, you want to feel like you're achieving things, you're doing something, and that means, yes, that means some sort of struggle to achieve something. But on a world level, I don't think like World War II or wars in general, I don't think that they are achieving anything. So if you're asking if the world needed to have a world war, to go through a war to somehow improve, no, I don't think so. But as individuals, I think we, yeah, I can understand why as individuals we want to go through certain struggles. It makes us feel like we're achieving something. It makes us feel like we're doing something, but not to the levels of that as worlds, as countries that we're doing. No, if that makes sense.
War and conflict is just money makers. It's another way of making money.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
I don't know. I think I might argue with that it's almost necessary on a major level, because just like individuals are wanting this, that collectiveness of that community want to achieve the same thing. And it's just like they say that no good art comes out of, happiness. It all comes from pain and struggling and strife. And I just think as humanity, we always need something to make us feel like we're important, that we can achieve, that we can overcome.
Of course.
And on an individual basis, that's 100% true, but that combines, right? When you have a group of people that are like-minded, that becomes a thing. And I don't think it's an intentional thing. I don't think it needs to happen, but I think it happens regardless of intent. That's just as things go, that shit comes up. Like it just happens. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have people with different ideals, which is always going to happen depending on the culture and where you grow up, those are always going to be conflicting with each other. And both of those groups, it's like when you fight a war, one group's thinking they're fucking fighting for the good guy, the other group is fighting for the good guy, and it's basically whoever wins that shit ends up writing history to be the good guy.
Yeah.
And
back-to-back World War champs.
but no, I feel like that it just feeds into that. So I feel like this shit, it's not necessary, it's not unnecessary, it's just part of human evolution and human nature.
War is not unnecessary.
What's that?
War. You're saying war is not unnecessary.
I don't think it's not unnecessary. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's just ingrained in human nature to conquer whatever obstacle you see as being in front of you.
Doesn't it have to be either one or the other?
I think so. I think as people evolve, maybe you can find that compromise and to talk things out. But ultimately, the people that are in control of whatever situation, they're going to fight or send people to fight for whatever the fuck they think they need to get. So I don't think it's necessary or unnecessary. I think it's inevitable.
Wow. Josh?
It's hard to say, man. It's hard to say without like sort of inflicting any emotion onto it. Like emotionally, you want to go, look, to be honest, war is completely unnecessary. It doesn't make any sense. It's
That made no sense to me.
It's completely, it's just a pissing competition in a sense. When you think about it, it's always just two men arguing and they make other people do their business. But
so in what sense is it necessary?
In terms of, like, I was more like an evolutionary thing, like this thing to become better as human. Like, and I know it sounds bad.
Can we become better humans without killing other humans?
But it's
but how do we know it's a bad thing until it's done? Like we like I'm saying World War II, for instance. It's hard to say without trying to say like I'm pro-war, because I definitely not. Like I don't.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, but
I do believe that, you know, there would have been a Hitler at some stage of this timeline, and I just think it's, in terms of the timing of when it happened, it was probably better it happened then. It's like it shouldn't have happened at all compared to now, in terms of the weaponry and whatever we have now. And I always thought about it as like, did it need to happen at that stage to get to a point to where to build us as humans as we are now? But once again, I think I look at it as an individual level, like you were saying, Andre, where it was like, I know me, I need to go through something difficult to go, that's how you don't do that. Do it this way. And I was just trying to get you guys' opinions on, do you think that works on not only an individual level, but maybe a community level? You know,
I think it does work on a community level and a country level. I just don't think that you need to kill people to feel that you've achieved something. Just like I'm assuming you don't feel you need to kill someone to feel that you've done something, that you've achieved something, you've strived to get something. I'm sure countries can feel better and do better without having to go to war. Although, like you said, in the scenario with Hitler, if you have a scenario where you've got some geezer who's running a country and he's overthrowing other countries, then yes, at some stage, other countries are supposed to look in and say, hold on, we've got to stop this guy. So I can understand how some wars can happen, but I just don't think it needs to happen just so a country can sit back and feel better about itself or feel that it's achieved something. I just don't understand that. I don't even understand that. I don't understand how you or anyone might think that going to war will somehow make that country better. I can understand you going to war because some bloke is overthrowing other countries and needs to be stopped. I think that's a little bit different. You're not doing it.
You're selling
your country.
You're selling an idea that people buy into.
Let's take the war thing out of it. Let's take the human on human war. Do you think humanity would get better after, say, theoretically there was an alien invasion and they come down and we all strive together? Do you think the world would go back to what it was, or do you think we'll stay united?
No, I think everyone will go back to how they were. I mean, who was I talking to? Was it one of you guys who was talking about 7-Eleven? Yeah, 7-Eleven, and how everyone got together after you know, the Twin Towers and all those things.
Unified times I can think of in the country overall. I mean, I'm not saying everyone was,
but it was done with a purpose. It was the same way that people knew about Pearl Harbor, the government did before it fucking happened. Like, I don't think it was an inside job, but I think it was allowed to occur for that public opinion to unify to go and fucking get some goddamned opium. Like,
you think what was allowed to occur?
No, absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Was allowed. He thinks
Pearl Harbor
happened, and we are allowed. Oh, Pearl Harbor as well. Stephen thinks that.
Well, apparently, the rumor is that Churchill knew.
Yeah,
and let it happen. Or was that is that the Second World? No, that was a Lusitania, wasn't it? That was Lusitania.
Well, in the same way with 9/11, I don't think they necessarily knew what was going to happen, but they knew some shit was coming, and it was allowed to happen because it drew public opinion to support the war effort. Because ultimately, it was economically beneficial to the United States. But you're not going to go to war without public approval. And so you have to have something to occur to get that approval.
A catalyst of some description.
Yeah. Well, I guess that sort of answers the question, because America kind of went back to normal.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
But I mean,
Thanks, America.
I know. I just feel like conflict is in human nature, right? This desire to overcome, because it's not that anything goes back to normal. Like, since the beginning of human history, people have always had conflict and strove to expand their territory, expand their horizons, and to take over people that they deem to be in their way or to be less than them. And I just think that it's the nihilist in me, but I just feel like it's just this cyclical thing, that it doesn't matter how evolved you are, there will always be some type of conflict for the people that feel like they should be superior to conquer the people that are in their way for achieving that superiority.
Then that's like saying back in the day, if you believe in cavemen or back in the day, men would go out and they would sleep with as many women as they felt like it. And now we're living in a scenario where everyone's supposed to be monogamous, but some would argue that's not a human, or that's not the natural order of things. But yet somehow, not everybody, but a lot of people manage to do it. Society on a whole manages to try to work like that. So is that the natural order of things, that we're monogamous, that we have one partner?
I don't
or is that a human constraint? So
I guess a couple of things play into that, though. Like, you got to think that back in caveman time, the bigger, stronger caveman would naturally get more. You know what I mean? There'd be a natural attraction to it. So it wouldn't be like everybody sleeping with everybody. There'd be a natural hierarchy of, the whatever the pretty cave woman looked like.
Yeah. Same now with the countries, isn't it? Not every country can wage war on other countries. It's only the bigger countries that could do it.
But is monogamy still a thing now?
Yes.
Ask your missus.
Is it just as deeply entrenched? The only reason why I asked, I had a girl on recently that was polyamorous. Yeah. Apparently the community is pretty big, especially here in Australia. Do you guys have a lot of polyamory people there, or you like America would probably be the one
they got everything there, and
but I will say, because it's such a Victorian and Protestant influence culture, that polyamory is very much frowned upon, even though it's more and more common in certain situations. But I will say, I have never seen or known anyone in a polyamorous relationship that has worked out. It's always ended up in a train wreck.
It's almost always eventually it ends badly. But
when you said worked out, I thought you meant
divorce rate,
getting a good body.
What was that, Josh?
Isn't your divorce rate super high over there? So your marriage
divorce rate is astronomical. It's over 50%. I'm on my third fucking marriage. So
what's like small polyamory or marriage?
Exactly.
That's dependent upon the people. I mean, so take marriage. My wife and I have been married 21 and a half years. Got married very young. I was 18, and we got married and started having kids very young. But the church had a lot of influence on us getting married at that age, which was a bad idea for us to get married at that age, and which caused us to then, 14 years after we were married to damn near divorce. And, we worked it out or whatever. But I mean, I think that there's a lot of, I don't know how to put it to words exactly. I mean, the divorce rate is very high over here, but I can't think of any open relationship or polyamorous relationship or whatever that works out long term.
But we have very conflicting ideas, because we're so heavily especially in the South, so heavily entrenched in religion. Like, it seeps into everything. Like, whether you want it to or not, it seeps into everything. And when you're taught, regardless if you decide to be polyamorous or not, when you're taught that it's only supposed to be this way, that jealousy breeds into fucking everything. And so it doesn't matter what the divorce rate is. Like, people's influence and their background heavily shape what the fuck their overall expectation is whatever they decide to do. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it doesn't make sense.
What do you guys reckon? Like, what's the do you guys have many polyamorous relationships over in the UK, and what are you guys' thoughts on it?
Easy.
I don't think we have, actually.
Is it a religious thing?
I think it's a greed. It's a greed. It's a greed thing. You know what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I must admit, I don't pay much attention to it. Truth be told,
I think
No.
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't, it's not on my radar. It's not something that interests me. You know what I mean? I look at it and think greedy. You know,
Well, I think
you're tending. All these wives are tending to this one bloke. You know, I can no.
Yeah, that
There's
sounds
no interest to me.
like that does to have to focus on that many different people. It's just
well,
that,
see,
that
I think
sounds awful.
traditionally, like historically, if you read it, men have historically wanted multiple partners, but women have always been expected to have only one. And so I think.
Sorry, is that something that's just enforced by men out of jealousy over eons, or is it something
I
that's
don't know, but that's been the trend. Is traditionally like men will have fucking 10 and 20 wives or whatever, and women are expected to be committed to the one that they're with. And I think that comes out of that biological sense of conquering, and I want to fucking spread my seed, you know, whatever. But it still is kind of how it works out. And I feel like that in a polyamorous relationship, when the dude's banging 3 girls, tends to work out better than if all the girls are banging other dudes.
Sure.
Like from what, at least here in the States, from what I've seen, because of I think the inherent expectation that comes with being a male and in charge.
Well, and I was going to say, I don't know, 5 minutes ago about.
Nobody cares.
No, I'm just saying. I was going to say, like, as far as polyamory and things like that, like as feminism kind of grows and is a stronger thing, like things like that are tending to happen more because women are looking at this as a more of a free.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that it's a negative thing. Like, absolutely, equality is a good thing. But I think a lot of women are going, well, men have done this for so long, and we should be equal. So now, if I want to have 10 different partners, or commit to no one and just sleep around or whatever, that's fine. And like, I'm not saying that that's a problem or whatever, but I think as feminism grows, so does a society where there are multiple partners between people.
That's the smartest thing you've said all day. Good job.
And I'm the drunkest that I've been all day.
So go ahead, Josh.
No, you go. Sorry, that's all good.
No, I just had a question for all of you guys along those lines. And that is I heard this theory, and it's not new, and I'm going to butcher the fuck out of it, but I think conceptually you guys will get it. And that was the concept of sexual selection, meaning as far as sexual partners go, women have all the control. And so the reason that some women are considered whores, and men are considered just men if they sleep around, is because women have all the choice in the matter. Like, they get to choose what dicks they accept. We'll fuck anything that'll fucking let us fuck it. And so, like, if we're trying to have sex with a woman and we get to, it's because they're allowing us to have sex with them. But when a woman has multiple partners, she's choosing to allow all these different men to have sex with her. And that's where that discrepancy comes into play. So, and again, I'm kind of butchering the theory, but it's one is I'm accepting one, the other is I'm getting what I can get. So what do you guys think about that concept?
I think that theory is from some dude who hasn't had sex a lot, and I think he's struggling with the concept of nobody wanting to fuck him.
Well, it takes emotional manipulation out of the equation, but
yeah, but in what context? You can use that for a particular group of people, but it's like, I don't think that applies to everybody. No way. There's no, like, I've said no to it. Like, I'm sure some of you guys have said no to it. Like, you just.
No to easy. That's the only one.
I got married.
I ain't gonna be like fucking yes to everything, and it's the same with the girls. I think the only difference is the factor of fear. It's like, if girls say no, there's a real chance that the guy can go yes.
Yeah, absolutely,
sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the differing factor. I don't think girls decide. I don't think men decide. I think you decide as a collective, right? Surely that's.
I don't know. I have to admit, I to an extent I understand what Steve is saying, because hard to believe it. Yeah, I think
just to clarify, I'm not saying I
guys. Sorry, can I interrupt? Sorry, no. Can I interrupt a second? I need to jump. I need to jump off. Okay, I've got a very important phone call that I need to sort out. Okay, right. So excuse me. I need to bow out. Okay, take it easy, guys.
Hey, before you go,
I'll contact you later.
Come on, dude. It's been so much fun.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Easy. Yeah. I'll have to be careful how I put this, but yeah, I think, although I agree that, of course, you're going to get scenarios where you have the option and you say no. Of course, that happens to most people, I would assume. But no, I think on the whole, guys are hunting. They're looking. Normally, guys will approach women. Not all the time, but on the whole, guys will approach women. So then it's up to that woman now to decide whether or not she's interested or not. And if that woman, if you go to talk to a woman and she's not interested, the normal scenario is that you go and seek elsewhere. If on the other hand, she entertains you, then yes, then that means you're through to the next round.
But once again, do you guys think that is like a cultural thing that's been shifted, like that has been placed on both sexes over years? You know what I mean? Like, because women were considered whore when they slept with people. So no, they wouldn't like entertain the idea of talking to somebody out of fear of being labeled. Like, is this a thing that's a societal thing that's been over years and years and years, rather than just this biological need to do so?
I think it's probably I think it's probably a mixture of both. Honestly, I think it probably is a mixture, and maybe it's more a societal thing, but I think it is a mixture of both. But I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint. I mean, because I know at least over here. I mean, I've had multiple conversations with people that it's like, like women. It's not a hard thing for a woman to find a sexual partner if they go out to a bar or whatever.
Sexual partner is the key word.
Right, sexual partner, yeah. But a man, it is to the discretion of the women that are involved in whatever. I mean,
unless you got game like a motherfucker.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know a single woman that can't go to a bar and at least find somebody that's willing to sleep with them that night. But I know plenty of guys that aren't going to find that. I mean, for good or for bad. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's just a fact of the matter. Like, in what I've seen anyway, it is a more modern thing, but
I'm just saying. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
How would you guys feel if it was on the other foot though? Like, would you be able to handle it? If a guy,
well, first and foremost, I think we're just talking about how things are.
Yeah.
That's really, we're talking about just how it is.
I think
the question is,
no matter what side of the fence I'm on, if I want some ass at the end of the night, my ass is fucking pulling it, because goddamn, I'm just saying.
This guy.
No, I think it's a fact of the matter. And I think,
but when you say, sorry,
no, go ahead.
Go on, Jay. Is Jay talking? Who's talking?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Josh, when you said, how would you feel if the shoe was on the other foot? You're saying what? How would we feel if women were approaching us? What do you mean by?
Yeah, like, but if it was like once again just this deeply like seated cultural thing that you'd be demonized if you were to do it. Like, just try and put yourself in their position for a little bit, and then probably try and then answer the question. You know what I mean? Like, could you, like, every single time somebody approached you, there's a fear of being labeled, and then would you continue to do so?
Sure.
Like,
all right.
Take the sex thing out of it. Take the male, female.
Yeah, but I don't think
immediately every time, and you get labeled for it.
But I don't think it's not like that now. I mean, you meet a woman and you have a chat with her. You have no idea how many men she may have slept with. This isn't being advertised, so she doesn't need to be worried about whether or not people think she's a whore or anything like that, because nobody knows the scenario. All you know is you've met this girl, you've liked her. So she's able to choose without having to worry about her her reputation. I don't think a reputation comes into play in this scenario, because
it does more in this day and age.
Well, I think it boils down to that basic concept of giving versus receiving.
Yeah,
like, as far as the perception goes, like, as a woman, you're receiving the dick. As a dude, you're giving the dick. And I think there's a big distinction there between, like, oh, I'm dominating this, like, I'm giving you something, versus, hey, I'm having to take this.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I think that's a big,
it is a big
mental
difference.
distinction.
At least I don't know how it is in other countries,
I'm a power
but in the US, it's like if a teacher sleeps with, if a female teacher sleeps with a male student, you look at it differently than if a male teacher sleeps.
It's like that here too.
And if you're a father, you definitely look at it differently. I mean, I have sons and I have daughters, and for better or for worse, I look at it completely differently.
Oh yeah.
I said daughters.
Yeah. If my 17-year-old was banging a 25-year-old, I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, and high five that shit. If my fucking 15-year-old daughter was banging a 22-year-old guy, I'm gonna be fucking out for blood.
Yeah,
like straight up.
Yeah, it's but once again, is that genetics, or is that like something that's just been instilled in us? You know what I mean?
I think it's probably a mixture of both.
But I think at a certain point it gets really hard to define what's biological and what's societal, because they kind of blend together.
Well, they have to, I guess, right? We have to live with both choices, but it's I don't know, man. Times have changed.
I don't know if you guys saw this comment.
Audrey says, I'm not a whore, but I am allowed to choose and make multiple choices. That was more COVID. Now I only want a Pfizer man.
Yeah. Hi, Audrey. Yeah. That's from the UK.
I'm on that fat ass Pfizer.
Hey, I am still of the opinion, all like serious topics aside, dude, we should straight up have a GoFundMe and get all you guys here in studio. That would be so much fucking fun.
If you can come to here knowing that there's a couple of guns 10 feet away.
Yeah. Get the fun going, mate. I'll come down. I've never been to the US, so I'll be down there, mate. As long as you can guarantee my safety.
I'll take you to the shooting range and let you fire some guns, Andre.
Oh, hold on. How does it work? Would that be possible?
Yes, absolutely. All you got to do is
shoot guns.
No, well, it's different. It's not.
They have a couple indoor ranges here where you can go and rent a weapon and fire in a contained environment.
They give all your information, and you're in a controlled environment where you go and there are targets and you shoot the target with the gun.
Damn.
Yes.
Let's get that going.
Yeah. But
after a bit, I wouldn't mind giving that a go.
Be honest, if you're showing up there with two middle-class white guys, they'll probably give you a pass.
Great stuff, mate.
Oh God!
Alrighty, boys. I think I'm done too. I got to get up in 5 hours to go to work.
Dude, understandable, man. Thank you guys, dude. It's been so fucking great to talk to you.
We should make this a semi-regular thing. You know, honestly.
Like at least once every couple of months.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I'm always down to chat. This is a lot of fun. Next time I might join you with some tequila. Maybe not as much as you guys had. That was,
well, Josh, hit us up at some point because we'd like to have you on like a solo interview thing or a discussion sometime. So just hit us up and we'll work out some time frames and things like that because it's a large time difference between us and you. So
yeah, we get a big one, but it's all right. Yeah, I'll make time for it. That sounds good, man. I'm happy for that.
All right.
All right,
all right, guys. Yep.
Have a good night, Josh.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do this again because, as you said, there's so many other things we could have spoken about. So yeah, let's do this again someday.
Let's. I think next in the chat we'll create like a little bit of list of what we want to talk about. I think that's a good idea. But this is fun. We got dust off the cobwebs, I guess. So
for sure.
Yeah,
all right, boys.
All right, guys.
All right. Hey, you guys have been great. Thank you so much. It's been so much fun.
Pleasure.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
All right.
All right. Have a good day. Have a good night.
All right.
For sure.
Give us a thumbs up on Facebook at B3F Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at B3F Podcast and on Instagram at B3F_podcast. Send us your questions or comments to bfff.podcast@gmail.com. Rate us and review us wherever you listen to the show. And as always, thanks for listening.